Greetings, BookTube. Welcome back to the History Shelf. Thanks for joining me today, whether you're a new or regular viewer. Please take a minute to subscribe or hit the like button. I'll just get that out the way. I guess everyone's doing it. I normally don't. But hey, thanks for joining me here. Today, we're talking about October history releases, books you might want to keep an eye out for. Usually what I do in these videos is I come to you with a big stack of books that publishers have sent me, or books I've requested, or books I'm reviewing, as I am a freelance book reviewer in my spare time. So I'm pretty busy. And I kind of put them on your radar. That's my service to you. I put them on your radar, and also share thoughts with you on books I've read and written reviews for. So, having said that, stay tuned for more of these types of videos, which I'm also going to be doing for fiction releases, because a lot of my book reviewing is fiction in addition to a lot of history, and along with one of my favorite little niche genres of mystery, thriller, horror. And with Halloween coming up, I've got a big Halloween video coming for you guys. Oh boy, stay tuned for that. So, new month, new history. Top October releases starts now. And we've got Daisy in the background. She's keeping an eye on me. Thank you, Daisy. All right. This book and the second one I'm going to show you right now are kind of interrelated that I hope to get back to and let you know after I've read them. But they're on my, what I joke around is saying that I minor in crazy dictators. I've always been interested in just how power works and how power is corrupted across the world. And so this is a new release from Belknap Harvard Press. And it looks so good. I got the finished copy just a few days ago. Very excited to read this one. This is Slow Poison, Idi Amin, Yoweri Museveni, and the Making of the Ugandan State by Mahmoud Mamdani. Beautiful, kind of foreboding hardcover jacket. Let me give you a little pressy of what it's about. In 1972, when Mahmoud Mamdani came home to Uganda, he found a country transformed by an orgy of violence. 2 years earlier, with support from the colonial powers of Great Britain and Israel, Idi Amin had forcefully cemented his rule. He soon expelled Uganda's Indian minority in hopes of fostering a nation for black Ugandans, but the plan backfired. Amin was followed by Yoweri Museveni, who has now ruled for nearly 4 decades. Whereas Amin tried to create a black nation out of the majority, Museveni sought to fragment this majority into multiple ethnic minorities, recreating a version of colonial indirect rule. Slow Poison is Mamdani's first-hand report on the tragic unraveling of his country's struggle for decolonialization. A witness to East Africa's endlessly intricate power plays, and one of the most insightful political philosophers of his generation, Mamdani casts a learned and wary eye on Amin, internationally depicted as a buffoon, the radical scholar Museveni, and the global heavyweights that exploited and manipulated Uganda before and after its independence. Each leader made violence central to his project, but Mamdani sees a signal difference between Amin, who retained popular support to the end, and Museveni, who has not. The Asian expulsion made Amin a monster in the eyes of the West. By contrast, Museveni was hailed as standard-bearer of the, quote, war on terror, end quote, in Africa, and was protected from accountability for far greater crimes. In exchange for adopting the package of neoliberal reforms known as the Washington Consensus, he became Africa's poster child. Amin, who aimed to create a nation of black millionaires, never became one himself. Meanwhile, Uganda's surrender to privatization has brought Museveni's family immense wealth, even as the country remains one of the world's poorest. And so it goes. The Belknap Press of Harvard University Press. This is out this month. Yes, I've always been fascinated by Uganda and Idi Amin. What was that movie? The Last Scottishman or something? The Last Scottish King with Forrest. Oh, I know his name. I can't remember the full name. But anyway, it was a wonderful movie. He played Idi Amin. Wow, it was chilling. Anyway, Slow Poison by Mahmoud Mamdani. out this month. I'm looking forward to reading this one. The next book is kind of a similar line where it's talking about another dictator, and the writer kind of inserts himself personally into the story, also kind of like Mahmoud Mamdani is talking about his experience coming back to Uganda, and so he's going to be part of that story, a little bit of memoir, and this is similar. This is coming out from Knopf Press. It's going to be out next week, October 7th. This is my advanced review copy. I've already started reading it, actually. This is called 38, I'm guessing Laundress, 38 Laundress Street, on Impunity, Pinochet in England, and a Nazi in Patagonia by Philippe Sands. Alfred A. Knopf. Like I said, I've started reading it. So let me give you a little bit about what this one is covering. On the evening of October 16th, 1998, Chilean dictator Augusto Pinochet was arrested at a medical clinic in London after a brutal 17-year reign marked by assassinations, disappearances, and torture, frequently tied to Laundress 38, the infamous detention center at the heart of Santiago. Pinochet was being indicted for international crimes and extradition to Spain, opening the door to criminal charges that would follow him to the grave in 2006. 3 decades earlier, on the evening of December 3rd, 1962, SS Commander Walter Rauff was arrested in his home in Punta Arenas at the southern tip of Chile. As the overseer of the development and use of gas vans in World War II, he was indicted for the mass murder of tens of thousands of Jews and faced extradition to West Germany. Would these uncommon criminals be held accountable? Were their stories connected? The Nuremberg trials, where Rauff's crimes had first been read into the record in 1945, opened the door to universal jurisdiction, and Pinochet's case would be the first effort to ensnare a former head of state. In this unique blend of memoir, courtroom drama, and travelogue, Philippe Sands gives us a front-row seat to the Pinochet trial, where he acted as a barrister for Human Rights Watch, and teases out the dictator's unexpected connection to a leading Nazi who ended up managing a king crab cannery in Patagonia. A decade-long journey exposes the chilling truth behind the lives of two men and their intertwined destinies at 38 Laundress Street. So, again, another book on dictators and bad men and trying to bring them to justice. So this book is out next week from Philippe Sands and Knopf. So these two are kind of tied together in... I kind of want to read them and come back to you guys. I've got a few books I've still trying to get through that I told you I was going to come back to you on, including this one. I know a lot of you are still wanting me to cover this book, and I have not forgotten, and I am, Reckoning with the Devil, Nathan Bedford Forrest, and Myth and Memory. Just trying to get organized here at the History Shelf. So much going on. So many fun things and collaborations I'm doing now. And I still need to spend time with my beloved Martine. So, there's a lot of books in the world. There's a million of them. And boy, I feel like they're all being sent to me. But I love it. Wouldn't change it for the world. All right, we're moving on to the next book. Oh, yes. Okay, so this book's coming out at the end of the month, October 28th. This book I will be reviewing for... It's so funny. It's the historical novels review, but this is not a novel. It's history, but if you're not familiar with historical novels review, we're the journal of the Historical Novel Society. However, and we put out, of course, my copies are behind me and the slipcases behind me. I save all the things I work on. We also run about 10% nonfiction reviews, and those only run online and not in the print journal. But we do cover some history. And so this is one I volunteered to cover. I'm very much looking forward to it. This is going to be coming from Viking Books, and this is The Sun Rising, King James I and the Dawn of a Global Britain, 1603 to 1625. Let's see. So let me give you a little. It looks like it's going to be pretty big book. We got about 425 pages or so. Let's see here. The British monarchy of today descends directly from one leader, King James I, whose huge and much overlooked influence launched England as a major international trade power, established the King James Bible, and united the royal families of Scotland and England under one house and one monarch. Along with his wife, Anne of Denmark, and his children, Henry, Elizabeth, and Charles, and James sought to broker agreements between the warring Catholic and Protestant princes in Europe and establish an era of peace. Instead, James set the groundwork for his children to grow up and champion a militant Protestantism that plunged the entire continent into religious war. At his ascension, England was economically behind, but James's global ambitions began to shift the tide. As ships departed London for America, Russia, Persia, India, and Japan, the fledgling East India Company began to intertwine ever closer with the crown. And James himself was dogged by scandal, running a court famously reputed for vice and venality, but his court was also rich in art, drama, and literature. Shakespeare's King Lear and Macbeth, said to have been inspired by James himself, were both first performed at the Jacobean court. You never know. You say tomato, I say tomato. Set across England and the continent over the course of 20 years, beginning in 1603 with the death of Elizabeth I and the ascension of James I, and ending in 1625 with Charles I becoming king. The Sun Rising presents a rich and compelling portrait of the royal family and a story of dynastic power politics that ultimately and viciously split Europe. Yes, did I say the author? I'm so sorry. It's by Anna Whitelock, who I've not heard of before. Let's see, what else has she written? Oh, she's written Mary Tudor, England's First Queen, and The Queen's Bed, An Intimate History of Elizabeth's Court. Fantastic. All right, so yes, I'll be looking forward to reading this and reviewing it for our next issue of... Actually, no, again, it's online, but still, it's not due until... I still have a couple months to do it, but anyway, I'm really excited about that one. All right, what's next? Oh, these are two I've been hanging on to, and I wanted to show you. These are both big, beefy books. I hope I get finished copies because these are a little bit hard for me to read and open. The print is a little small, but let's hop into this one first. All right. This is from Farrar, Straus and Giroux, one of my favorite publishers. This is Splendid Liberators: Heroism, Betrayal, Resistance, and the Birth of American Empire by Joe Jackson. It's unusual for an advance review copy to be this compact. But anyway, it's going to be a big book. So let me just see if I can hold this up for you while I read it. It's a new history of the Spanish-American War, spanning the U.S. adventures and misadventures in Cuba and the Philippines, and paying particular attention to unsung characters such as Frederick Funston and David Fagan. Okay, let me read from the press sheet here. All right. Apparently, this is Joe Jackson's most ambitious and substantial book to date, and I believe it. This comes out October 14th, just so you know. In the wake of the Spanish-American War, the U.S. freed Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines from Spanish control and, in turn, became an empire. With Splendid Liberators, Jackson draws on extensive research and interviews in Cuba and the Philippines to explore how that happened and its repercussions. Rejecting the triumphalist narrative that lionizes Teddy Roosevelt's San Juan Hill Charge and subsequent events as a blow for freedom, he views the war through Cuban, Filipino, and U.S. perspectives to offer a biting post-colonial corrective to conventional understandings. A work of revisionist but epic popular history, Splendid Liberators tells the story of the war through its leading characters, offering surprising accounts of such celebrated figures as Teddy Roosevelt, William McKinley, William James, Clara Barton, Cuban revolutionary Jose Marti, and the first Philippines President Emilio Aguinaldo. Jackson recovers the fascinating and largely forgotten stories of the legendary African-American soldier David Fagan, who defected to fight for the Filipino rebels, and the swaggering Colonel Fred Funston, who was sent to hunt him down. He writes of a soldier who was buried alive, race riots in the barracks, and a war hero silenced by the president for threatening to hang senators. Wow. The Spanish-American War would draw them all into its swirling vortex and change them forever. So this is a stunning corrective to prevailing accounts and is the first work of narrative nonfiction to look at the Spanish-American War through American, Cuban, and Filipino eyes and to fully recount the major conflict that ended the Spanish Empire and established the American one. All right, now it's going to be a lot in there. I mean, I've never had a high opinion of the Spanish-American War either, so I don't think it should be too shocking, too shocking of a revision. I mean, I thought that whole war was kind of just ginned up. You know what I mean? Beware of empire, baby. You don't want to be an empire. That's what I'm saying. But anyway, Splendid Liberators by Joe Jackson from Farrar, Straus and Giroux, publishing on October 14th. If Spanish-American War or that era is your bag, you're going to want to check this one out. Now, a week after that book, we have this one, which looks very, very enjoyable. I can't wait for this one. Well, I mean, I have it, but it's the advanced review copy. Hopefully I can get the finished and circle back and show you guys that when it's done. But also that same size. It's very chunky and it might be, yeah, to get out my bifocals for this bad boy. This is Pride and Pleasure, the Schuyler sisters in an age of revolution. It's just the red it's not focusing on the subtitle. And this is by Amanda Vale. This is also by Farrar, Straus and Giroux. Okay, so they must be switching to this type of advanced review size. That would make sense that they're both look very similar. I'm trying to find a piece here that I can actually read for you. On the press sheet. All right, here we go. I'm trying to get this right for you guys. Woo! What do you think, Daisy? She's like, no. Okay, this is not working. What's in here? Let me do this. I'm just going to read from the insert here. America's founding era reconsidered through the lives of two women as formidable as, and in some respects stronger than, the men they loved, married, and mothered. Angelica and Elizabeth Schuyler, born to wealth and privilege in New York's Hudson Valley during the latter half of the 18th century, were raised to make good marriages and supervise substantial households. Instead, they became embroiled in the turmoil of America's insurrection against Great Britain, and rebelled themselves in ways as different as each was from the other, against the destiny mapped out for them. Glamorous Angelica, who sought fulfillment through attachments to powerful men, eloped at 20 with a war profiteer and led a luxurious life, charming Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and the Prince of Wales. Eliza, 1 year her junior, too candid for flirtation and uninterested in influence or intrigue, married a penniless, illegitimate outsider, Alexander Hamilton, and devoted herself to his career. After his appointment as America's first Treasury Secretary, she was challenged by the public in private controversies that followed her husband, not the least of which was the attraction that grew between him and her adored sister. When tragedy followed, and we all know what that was, everything changed for both women, one deprived of her animating spirit, the other improbably gaining a new self-determined life. Quote, "You would not have suffered if you had married into a family less near the sun," end quote, wrote Angelica to Eliza. "But then you would have missed the pride, the pleasure, the nameless satisfactions." Drawing on deep archival research, including never published records and letters, Amanda Vale interweaves this family drama with its historical context, creating a narrative with the sweep and intimacy of a 19th century novel. All right. Um, this sounds really good. Ooh, I'm going to read it right now. Oh, sisters. Look at that. A book just about the Schuyler sisters. I love it. Angelica and Eliza. Um, I haven't read too much about, I like that they're doing history that kind of looks at the women behind the men. So this is fabulous. Cannot wait. I would love to get the finished copy because I'm sure it has many illustrations, artwork. Yeah. Anyway, guys, so that's coming out October 21st for our Strauss and Giroux. Love it, especially if you like that period, the American Revolutionary period. Okay, what else is next? So the next few are, wait, I got one more here that is an advanced review copy. I've been meaning to show you guys this one. This also, this comes out October 28th from a name, it's sticking with American Revolutionary history. Many of you will know, you will have heard of him. It is Joseph J. Ellis. It's a slim volume, not even quite 200 pages, but let's take a look at it. This is The Great Contradiction, The Tragic Side of the American Founding by Joseph J. Ellis. This is being published by Knopf, and coming out at the end of the month. Let's see here, what do we got? This is a major new history from our most trusted voice on the Revolutionary era. Right. I thought there was some controversy, though, around Ellis maybe a decade or more ago, but I'll leave it there. A major new history from our most trusted voice on the Revolutionary era, the author of the Pulitzer Prize-winning Founding Brothers and the National Book Award winner American Sphinx. This is an astounding look at how America's founders, Washington, Jefferson, Franklin, Madison, Adams, regarded the issue of slavery as they drafted the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. A daring and important work that ultimately reckons with the two great failures of America's founding, the failure to end slavery and the failure to avoid Indian removal. Interesting. You don't often find that second half of that written about very much. I mean, it is, but it's usually always ancillary, unless it's like unless it's a deeply researched book that kind of just weaves it into the overall narrative of American expansion and manifest destiny and all that kind of stuff. But this one, The Tragic Side of the American Founding, and it's just what astounds me is that it's so small. It's just very slim. So I haven't had a chance to dip into it yet. But let's see. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, this will be something I would just have to read and then just try to figure out what's going on here, because it seems like there's a lot here, and I don't know why it's so thin. Anyway, it's Joseph J. Ellis. The man can do anything, right? So, let's see. I would read from it, but I don't want to get like one of those strikes, right? Because it would be like if you read from a book too long, they call it like plagiarism or something like that, or I don't know. It's so weird. The Great Contradiction, The Tragic Side of the American Founding, Joseph J. Ellis, looking at slavery and Indian removal or Native American removal as the two twin tragedies of America's founding. So keep that in mind if you're wanting to go down that route. All right. Now I've got some finished copies. I'm pretty sure this book came out. Oh, yeah, here we go. It did. I've got the pub sheet. Perfect. Well, I've got the finished copy, but it comes out October 14th from Yale University Press. And this is kind of an ethereal kind of topic that I really enjoy. these type of out-of-the-way things. This is called The Rest is Silence. Enlightenment Philosophers Facing Death by Joanna Stalnaker. It's a beautiful hardcover finished copy. What would the Enlightenment look like if we viewed it through the eyes of the philosophers as they were facing death? Joanna Stalnaker turns our usual perspective on the Enlightenment on its head, bringing to light a set of works written at the end of the old regime and at the end of their authors' lives. These works, all written before the French Revolution, cast a retrospective glance over the intellectual movement their authors participated in and over the authors' own lives and works. Stalnaker shows that the beauty of these works stems from their authors' efforts to give literary form to the materiality and fragility of their dying bodies. As they reflected on writing as a means of reaching posterity, Enlightenment philosophers embraced the possibility that neither their names nor their writings would survive long beyond the decomposition of their bodies. They inscribed the silence and nothingness of death into their last works. Stalnaker's book unsettles reigning interpretations of the Enlightenment as a precursor to our modernity and shows its protagonists at their moments of fragility and doubt, capturing their sense of an ending rather than the confidence in a glowing future so often attributed to them. Interesting. That is it's a very arcane angle to take on that, and I like it. I like it a lot. Let's see who she focuses on here. Let's see. She's going to be looking at, of course, Hume. We've got Diderot, Rousseau, Voltaire. Oh, Roland, Defon's nothing. Okay, this is going to be, I hope, very, 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 I'm going to say, kind of touching on the elements of like spirituality, maybe. I don't know how some of these people, if they held any type of religion. I know Hume did not. Voltaire, no, not really. Enlightenment, they were kind of against that for the most part, right? They were use reason, eschew faith, all this kind of stuff. But I really am interested to see, what their writing was like as they were facing, eternity, as either unconsciousness or something else. So The Rest is Silence. Enlightenment Philosophers Facing Death by Joanna Stalnaker. This is coming out October 14th from Yale University Press. All right, what else we got? Okay, I'm going to save the best for last, so don't leave because one of these is just going to blow your socks off. But this looks really fantastic as well. This is from Harper Books. And do I have the press sheet? I do. This is coming out. Another release on October 14th. I've got a nice finished copy of American Grammar, Race, Education, and the Building of a Nation by Jarvis R. Givens. And this is I already said, Harper Books. Okay. Ooh. Okay. So this is going to be, this is looking at American education system. Oh. Okay, we're going to go back because they kind of give you a preamble here about the current state of things in America and education, which is not too great. Let's get into this one. So Jarvis R. Givens, professor of education and of African and African American studies at Harvard University, provides a new history of U.S. education through the 19th century, one that recognizes these ongoing battles, which references the part I haven't read to you yet. All right, let me go back. We're going to do this again. Are you guys ready? Okay. The American educational system is in a crisis. Okay. Attempts to ban books in schools and libraries around the country have reached a fever pitch. The presidential administration has defunded key educational institutions and fired critical longtime employees. In Texas, the House of Representatives has advanced a bill requiring all public schools to display the Ten Commandments. the latest effort by conservative-led states to integrate religion into public education. Education is the epicenter of every community in the United States, with few institutions as pivotal in shaping our lives and values than public schools. Yet the nature of schooling has become a highly politicized battleground where clashes over free speech and book bans abound, and where the suppression of knowledge about race, gender, and sexuality has taken center stage. Political forces are waging an open war on academic freedom, bringing to the forefront the increasingly critical question, what gets taught, how, by whom, and who gets to decide? Okay, now we move into this. Jarvis R. Givens provides a new history of U.S. education through the 19th century, one that recognizes these ongoing battles not as modern culture wars, but as expressions of a relationship between race, power, and schooling that is as old as the country itself. Drawing on his own personal experiences and academic expertise, Givens rigorously accounts for Black, Native, and white experiences, unveiling how the exploitation of Black and Indigenous people played an essential role in building American education as a system premised on white possession and white benefit. In doing so, he exposes the idea of American education as the quote-unquote the great equalizer is not only a lie, but a dangerous myth that reproduces past harms. One more thing I want to say about this here. It says, American Grammar is a revised origin story that exposes this legacy of racial domination in schooling, demonstrating how the educational experiences of Black, white, and Native Americans were never separate, but relational, all part of an emergent national educational landscape. Givens reveals how profits from slavery and the seizure of native lands underwrote classrooms for white students, how funds from the U.S. War Department developed native boarding schools, and how classroom lessons socialized students into an American identity grounded in anti-Blackness and anti-nativeness. Givens argues that if we are to address the stark educational inequalities throughout the country today, especially for Black and Native students, we must confront how such inequalities were built into our schools by design. In unraveling the dark, unexamined history that continues to influence how schools forge our world, Givens provides a framework for those working to build a truly egalitarian future for all learners and communities, and especially those most vulnerable among us. So this is going to be one to really grapple with. Yeah, this is one I'm definitely keen on for certain reasons. I kind of, I work. My career is, supporting higher education. So it's actually, it's in my wheelhouse. So definitely a book I will probably be packing with me when I go traveling at the end of the month. But I think all of you should be interested in it. Well, you shouldn't be. If you are, you are. If you're not, you're not. But put it on your TBR if this is something you're interested in. It speaks to me personally and professionally. So, October 14th, I believe I said. And Harper Books. Okay, final book. Wow, Peg's not making a 50-minute video for once. I might have a 40 or 50-minute video for the November stack because they are just going. They keep climbing, as it were. I didn't show you that one book. Hold, please. No, wait a second. Oh, maybe it's coming out in November. Okay. I just wrote a review for another slim volume. Did I move it? I need a bigger desk, guys. My work has been just exponentially increasing, and I am running out of desk space. But okay, here we go. Final book. I think the other book I'm thinking of might be releasing in November, but either way, I will circle back to it. Guaranteed. All right. Penguin Press. I do love Penguin Press as well. This book is coming out October 21st, but I already have the finished copy. I'm very pleased. Big, beefy history. Let me see if I have something here I can read. All right. You ready? Okay. World Enemy Number One. Nazi Germany, Soviet Russia, and the Fate of the Jews by Jochen Hellbeck. A nice, decent size hardcover here. Again, Penguin Press, coming out October 21st. Is getting a ton of advanced praise. I got a starred review from Kirkus. Prestigious writers, historians. Oh, Ron Suney, who is one of the Stalin biographers. He's got a very long blurb about it. All right. Okay, so Jochen Hellbeck. He is the acclaimed author of Stalingrad, the city that defeated the Third Reich. I might have to. Do I have that one? I don't think so. I'm going to have to check that one out because I do love military history as well. World War II history is fantastic. So it says here, Jochen Hellbeck, the distinguished professor of history at Rutgers, all right, who specializes in modern Russia, the Soviet Union, and the history of World War II, now comes to us with World Enemy Number One, which I've just read the title. And Hellbeck presents in this major new history. Let me start that again. Hellbeck presents a major new history that redefines the narrative of World War II by placing the German-Soviet conflict at its heart. In the West, World War II is commonly understood as the Allies' struggle against Nazism. Often elided, if not simply forgotten, is the Soviet Union's crucial role in that fight. In this major new history, Hellbeck rectifies this omission by relocating the ideological core of the conflict. It was not the Western powers, but communist Russia that Nazi Germany viewed as an existential threat. In fact, world enemy number one. Jewish revolutionaries, the Nazis impressed upon the German public, had seized power in 1917 and were preparing the Soviet state to destroy Germany and the world. And so, on June 22, 1941, a German army of 3 million attacked the Soviet Union to exterminate Judeo-Bolshevism, Hitler's cardinal obsession. As Hellbeck shows, while Europe's Jews were initially expelled, exiled, and persecuted by the Nazis, Soviet Jews were immediately slated for elimination. Soviet lands thus became ground zero for systematic extermination, which was only later extended to all Jews, igniting the Holocaust. That's fascinating. I'm gonna give my arm a rest on that side. Hellbeck expertly reconstructs the years leading up to the war, when Europe against Bolshevism was the Nazis' most fervid rallying cry, and documents their annihilatory ambitions on the battlegrounds in the East. Widely disseminated accounts of German atrocities, particularly by the important war reporter Ilya Ehrenberg, mobilized millions of Soviet citizens to join a people's war against the hated invaders. Hellbeck tracks the desire for revenge that drove the Red Army on its path of reconquest, an advance that further inflamed the belief in a murderous Bolshevik Jew, stirring the Germans to fight to the bitter end. Finally, Hellbeck reckons with how history was quickly rewritten, leading to the West's persistent disregard of the Soviet Union's incalculable contribution to winning the war, which it was incalculable. Just that is a hard word sometimes. And its sacrifice of 26 million citizens. Just get your mind around that. 26 million. The book additionally offers timely insight into the modern implications of the perils of Soviet erasure, with much of Europe divided on how they view World War II. As Hellbeck puts it, on the one side, Russia and Belarus enthusiastically cultivate the memory of Soviet victory, while their neighbors to the west stress a history of suffering under Soviet rule. One side casts the Red Army as humanity's liberator, the other as an occupier and oppressor. Clashing head-on, these memory wars have fueled political and, more recently, military strife, obviously. By mining newly declassified archives and previously undiscovered sources, such as testimonies, diaries, dispatches from soldiers and civilians, Soviet and German, as well as hundreds of oral histories of life under Nazi occupation, Hellbeck, who himself is a West German by birth and a Russian historian by training, offers a unique history that takes account of both sides. Groundbreaking and eye-opening World Enemy Number 1 marks an essential entry to the canon of World War II history. So yes, as a World War II history fan and reader, I am very much looking to sink my teeth into this one. Woo, soon. It's been a busy month and a half. I probably won't get to it until I'm back from my travel at the end of the month, but I'm looking forward to it greatly. Penguin Press. Boom. Check it out, guys. All right. So I would do a pyramid, but I know that some of these are really heavy, and I don't need to make a fool of myself by having them collapse on me. And then we're at 40 minutes. So let's go ahead and wrap this one up, guys. Thanks for joining me for a new month, new history. I hope you found something here that you might want to pick up this October. Stay tuned for upcoming November releases, which I've got a lot. But in the meantime, I've got a ton of other things to show you. So keep it here. Subscribe, like, hit your notification button, guys. And as always, take care of yourselves, be well, be kind out there, and just find a book and keep reading and keep learning. All right, guys, so take care. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.